Hey, you got big plans for retirement but not sure how to budget for them? Well, in this video, I'm gonna help you start creating a plan now that you know exactly how much to budget for travel in retirement, among other things. Now, I love traveling. Like, that's something I never got to do as a kid. I remember when growing up, my dad would barely drive us a few hours to somewhere. But I'll tell you, like, even my life now, we actually go snowbird every winter and we get to try someplace new every time and get to live there. I'm here to tell you the first thing, if I give you a bonus tip, it's not as hard as you think, but you do have to know a few key things. So here they are. Number one, obviously you got to decide where you want to travel. You know, if someone were to ask me, well, Chris, how much should I budget? Like, how do I know how much I need for travel and retirement? The question is, well, where are you going to go? Because going to like Cambodia is different than like going to France, you know, or different than going to UK or going to Canada. Whoever might want to go to Canada for good winter travel, I don't know. Somebody likes cold. That could be the place, right? You know, Japan might be more expensive than going somewhere like Bali. You know, we'll talk about that. So you really have to decide where you want to travel. You know, do you want to go to Central America? I have a lot of clients that say, I want to go to Mexico or I want to go to Costa Rica. You know, I've had a client just recently, they said, our whole goal is we want to move our kids, we want to move our whole family out of the US while our kids are young so we can homeschool abroad. We can do something else. But not live the typical expat life where you just live in an American community. We want to live with the locals. We want to get that real experience. I said, okay, where do you want to go? They said, I think Costa Rica. All right, great. How much do you need per month? And we found out it was about $3,000 to $4,000 a month they would need. I said, there is our passive income goal. In fact, we'll probably exceed it if we want to do that. So just so you know, they're doing that now. They're in their 40s. They didn't have to wait till 60 years old, till their golden years to do this. They did this with kids in tow, homeschooling of all things, right? Doing online homeschool as well as their own personal homeschooling. And now they have about $5,000 a month coming in, passive income that's covering their expenses, which gives them a little extra so they can even come back to the US and visit friends and do things that way. So you gotta know where you're traveling first so then you can know what that amount is. And that's number two, is know exactly how much you're spending today. What are your monthly expenses? One of the things that couple had to learn is they had to know what would their monthly expenses be if they sold their house and moved away from here in the United States. They still had monthly obligations, right? They still had maybe had some things. We worked on make sure that they didn't really have any debts to hold them back. You know, not a lot of, car loans and things like that. Plus they were thinking about selling their car anyways. So we said, well, what are the actual monthly expenses you're gonna have? You know, outside of just the travel part, what we actually have to be spending? What are some other obligations you might have while you're here? If you're homeschooling, are there monthly expenses dealing with the homeschooling? What are you doing there? Now, if you're in retirement, that's a very different conversation. You might not be talking about homeschooling, but you might have obligations back here in the US. You might even have debt that you're still having to pay on. That's fine. We just have to know exactly how much you're gonna be spending, not just abroad, but any kind of commitments you might have here. Are you helping pay for college education still? Are you helping with that? Are you helping your kids in other ways? What are those monthly expenses you have? Are you gonna keep your house? What do you have to do to keep that house going? You know, you got to know what exactly you're going to do. It does require planning and it does require to make some commitments. Even though you might change your mind in the future, that's okay. We really just want to get very clear about what we're doing so then we can focus more on generating the income streams to do it. So like I said, number one was decide where you want to travel. Two is know exactly how much you're spending today in your monthly expenses. And I would even add, how much would that cost when you're living there? By the way, you can go do searches. You can go on like Airbnb. That's one thing that my wife and I realized is like, we don't have to go buy a property everywhere we want to visit. We can VRBO, Airbnb, we can use all kinds of resources to live there. You can even rent longer term without having to buy a place. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense to buy it. Sometimes you can just rent it, know exactly what your monthly expenses are, and be able to calculate that more. Now, once you're clear on those things, you know like how much food might cost you, utilities, rent. Once you know all those kind of things, are you gonna have a card there or not? You know, once you have all that determined, now the real fun begins. Now we gotta figure out how to generate enough income streams to do it so you can start living that life of your dreams. Now, if let's just say that your monthly expenses and everything you decided with travel takes you about $6,000 a month. Let's just say it's that much. And there are places that could cost you $6,000 a month. We need to make sure you have enough income streams to do it. If you're using traditional retirement accounts, this is gonna get tricky because that $6,000 a month example, that's over $70,000 a year. If you wanna live on $70,000 a year, using the 3% rule of pulling out your retirement account so you don't run out of money, you don't really wanna run out of money in the process of doing this, do you? Obviously not. So if you're gonna pull out 3% to make $70,000 a year, have about $2.3 million or so. We'll even say $2.4 million just to be safe. Think about it, you gotta have $2.4 million in your retirement account to live on $6,000 a month of today's expenses. Also know that if you're looking out years in the future, we gotta factor in inflation. If it's $6,000 a month today, most likely in about 10 to 15 years, it could easily be $10,000 a month. And if it's $10,000 a month, you better make sure you're saving over $3 million in these traditional retirement accounts. This is why a lot of our clients come to us, because they say, wait a minute, to try to save this much money in our retirement accounts is like literally like a Dalmatian chasing a fire truck, right? You ever see the Dalmatian, spotted dogs, if you've seen the cartoon movie, right? They're chasing the fire truck, chasing after it, but they never catch the stupid fire truck, right? It's a pointless effort. It's useless. They're just chasing forever and getting nowhere. That's what happens often when you try to save your money in these traditional retirement accounts. And let's not even go and talk about, what happens when the market loses. And then you're saying, oh, well, that just put back my travel plans another 10 to 15 years. Oh, what's that with inflation now? Now I got to save up to $5 million and recover all the losses because I'm riding the stupid stock market waves. Not really great. So that's why I've had clients come to me like that. Like I mentioned that younger couple, they said, what else could we do besides the stock market? We don't trust it. We don't trust that's going to give us the lifestyle we want, especially today. What do? That's where we start generating income streams. They bought several rental properties. They're actually now starting to invest in doing things with land where somebody else is buying and selling land for them, generating passive income there so they can generate that. I had another client. She was in her mid-50s. She was doing great building her business. In fact, I met her at a business event where she was gonna about take off on her business. And then after she got done with all the hype, she said, Chris, I actually don't want to hustle anymore. I don't have to keep grinding and hustling and wearing myself out for this business. I love my business, but I don't love it that much to just grind the rest of the days of my life. And she just went through a divorce. So she's kind of just wondering what she wants to do with her life at that point. And so I said, well, what do you want? If you could create the life of your dreams, what would it be? She said, Chris, I would love it if I could go and retire in Bali. I would love to retire in Bali. By the way, I hardly even knew what Bali was when she mentioned it. Once I saw it, I was like, oh my goodness, more people know about this place. And I said, well, let's make it happen. So she had to change her plan. Her financial plan went from trying to hustle and grind in her business and saving to now I have some savings. Can I get it to get me to quit my business if I want to? So we looked at that. She had some money from her divorce that she had left over. And she said, all right, Chris, I've got about $300,000. What can I do with it? So we looked at buying some rental properties for her. She even invested in a real estate fund that was paying out X amount. And I don't mean the REITs. Don't buy those, REIT, REIT type funds. Not worth it. They're not the same thing. She actually went to a fund where they had ownership in the property. So she did those two things. And guess what? She generated exactly what she wanted. She said, Chris, if I could have my dream, not only want to retire in Bali, she said, Bali will only cost me about $1,200 a month to live. I can even scuba dive a little bit. So that's where a few $100 of that $1,200 a month came from. But I can live on about $1,200 a month comfortably in Bali. But she said, Chris, I would really like to have more than enough income to even replace the income I'm getting from alimony. She's like, I can't guarantee that's always going to be there forever. I want to be independent on my own, not relying on somebody else. What did we do? We said, let's replace that income. And we did. $3,000 a month. She had more than enough to retire to Bali. She still had the money coming in from alimony too, which was just bonus. That was just gravy. But now she gets to live the life of her dreams, even comes back to the United States to visit her kids and just be able to have fun, but really live the life that she wanted to design. And isn't that what life's meant to be about? I mean, aren't we supposed to live the life of our dreams? And I know if you're talking about traveling and wanting to do something in retirement more than just sitting on your front porch and your travel is swinging back and forth, and you're sipping lemonade, but it's country time lemonade because you can't afford the real stuff. So you're buying the cheap lemonade, and you're sitting on that swing. Because why? Because you can't afford to pay gas anymore because you can't travel anywhere. That's why we want to do this, right? So that passive income is so essential, but it's probably not going to come from the traditional ways of doing it. So recap, like I said, you gotta be able to budget and know exactly where you want to travel, get clear on that so you can know how much you're going to spend, including your expenses you have here. And then generate enough passive income streams to do it so that you can be there worry-free and not wondering if you have to come back because you're going broke and then you're gonna have to be the checker over at Walmart because you've got to bridge the gap somehow with your income. You don't want that. So I would love to hear what kind of travel ideas, where do you want to go for your destination? What's your dream place you want to go? Put that in the comments below. And if you like this video, check out how to achieve financial independence and retire early right now.